I'm here today to discuss an idea that might challenge some of our deepest assumptions about identity, that language more than race determines who we are. Each of us has been compelled to ask ourselves this question: who am I? When you see me, you see a Black woman. What assumptions are made about me based on my physical appearance? And how does language influence my lived experience, my identity, and even my place in society? How does it influence yours? We will get to all of that, but first, please come with me as I briefly share my immigrant experience and tell you about why, now that I live in South Africa, I am so interested in the topic of language. So I don't know if it's obvious, but I ain't from George. My family and I are often asked why we would choose to leave America for South Africa, as though it's the worst decision my husband and I could have made for our young family. It's true that there are many benefits to living in the USA, but there are some drawbacks. For example, this was the view from my living room in Atlanta, and this was the view from my living room when we lived in Plett. So, there are only slight differences between the two. I don't mean to make light because, yes, of course, it was difficult to leave the family, friends, and relationships that we had spent years building in Atlanta. But we found that our new community in Plett was encouraging, eager to know us, and welcoming and to embrace us. One of the first relationships that I made in Plett was with Roxana. She's an older woman of Indian descent. And she showed me how the very bougie city we had moved to was a reflection of South Africa at large. It was also she who introduced me to this concept that I'll be talking to you about today. She said, in South Africa, identity is more determined by language than race. I was absolutely fascinated because in America, we see identity in very flat racial terms, largely. In fact, for years, our official forms had race categorized as white or Caucasian, negro or Black, Latino or Hispanic, Indian, Asian, or other. Each of these terms was more offensive than the next. I had a multiracial friend of mine express to me her distress and disgust at having to choose the term other to categorize her humanity. You see, I had had the privilege of never having to think about this. I was just Black.